Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
This week on the Kindness Project, we talk about retro games, unconventional superheroes, and 5 things we've learned since we started the Kindness Project. Welcome to another episode of the Kindness Project.
Why are you talking so slowly? Welcome to
I'm pretty sure this is my first time starting one of these.
Oh, it's exciting.
Yeah,
Week
it is.
14 and you're starting a Kindness Project
You
podcast.
usually start them.
Okay.
So I am joined by Chris Dames, his sugar, spice, and everything wise.
Oh, that's very nice of you. And I'm joined very slowly, because apparently we're talking really slowly on this introduction, and I've started talking really fast. She's the girl who loves stuff before her time so much. Her superhero name should be Retro Girl. It's
Superhero name.
It's Charlotte Dames. So,
Superhero name though.
what's your superhero name?
I am Multi-Blade, the user of many weapons.
So I want to talk about Streets of Rage 2, Charlotte. So we went to a retro gaming festival. Would you call it a festival? Or was it just like a few arcade machines in a shed in Carnaby Street? Yeah. So, but it was a retro gaming event, and you found that you found the only retro game you're probably better than me at, and that is
Streets of Rage.
Streets of Rage Part 2.
Yes, I'm very bad at the first one.
Yeah, so we quite enjoyed Streets of Rage, didn't we?
Yeah.
What other retro games do you like?
I quite enjoy playing very pixelated games. They don't have to be retro. I quite enjoy the style of pixelated games because it's how much emotion you can pack into tiny little pixels.
Yeah, so Charlotte does like retro games. And what was your introduction? Sugar and spice and
Everything wise.
everything wise. So I'm not nice. Is that what you're trying to say? We're doing the Kindness Project, and you've replaced nice with wise. I don't know whether to be insulted or hugely complimented.
Your kindness comes from what you know.
Really? Okay. Well, we're listeners, Charlotte. We're in trouble. We're on a sinking ship waiting to go down. We're on the Titanic of kindness. If everything I know about kindness is in there. So, question. Should we get straight on with question of the podcast, and then we can talk about it? What would your superhero name be, and what would your superpower be? Now, you've done yours already. So this leaf blade thing, multi-blade, what's your superhero power?
Okay, so I have the ability to use any weapon that has a sharp edge or
Knives. So you're a chef, basically.
I'm a chef. I can use swords. I can use samurai swords.
So it's multi-blade, like a Swiss Army knife, or was it?
No.
Okay.
It's kind of like, it started out, I used to be leaf blade, and I used to be able to kill people with leaves of grass and stuff.
Okay. And it
now
evolved.
Yeah, so now I can use like swords and throwing knives.
How about spoons? Are you good with spoons?
I mean, if you sharpen them enough, they can be used as well.
You know what? There's an old film. I know we talk about films a lot at the waffly bit of the Kindness Project podcast.
Especially Nick Cage.
Don't talk about Nick Cage. I am thinking about putting an official ban on any Nick Cage conversation.
But then all the conversation will be dry and boring.
What are you saying? We need Nick Cage to be interesting?
No.
So I saw Nick Cage on the front of a magazine the other day, and I thought either that magazine's from a time when Nick Cage was good, or I should never read that magazine. Anyway,
You've been on the front of a magazine.
I have been on the front of a magazine. But hopefully I was slightly better in the content element than Nick Cage. Nick Cage, you're probably lovely. Let me reiterate, I don't know you personally, Nick Cage. You're probably a lovely, lovely fella. You just make less than good quality films.
He's just saying you should get a new day job.
So anyway, there's a film. I think it's called Mystery Men. And it's about unconventional superheroes in a world. So you had one that just had a shovel called the Shoveler. And the only talent he had was he could sort of fight with his shovel. You had one who used to, how do I put this politely, break wind as his superhero skill, which is one that, I think you might have accidentally. And then there's what was it? Oh, there was one that threw cutlery, literally. So he had knives and forks and spoons. There was the bowler who had a her father's head in a bowling ball and used to throw that. And there was all these really have you ever seen that, Mystery Men?
No.
Right, you should watch that.
You were saying knives and forks and spoons and throwing the rope. Yesterday, me and Soph, we were. She got out these spoons and she started.
Oh, what them plastic spoons? Yeah.
Putting them into forks and duct taping them together and kind of rubbing them like that and spinning them so they were weapons.
Right, okay. You let our 6-year-old daughter and sister, respectively, create weapons.
I thought she was making a weapon.
You're meant to be babysitting, Charlotte. What have you been up to?
I was making a pair of glasses with the spoons.
So I went, because she was doing it in the office, wasn't she, at the back of the house. And when I went down there, literally the floor was covered in spoons. I mean, it was like, I don't know what she was doing.
After I made my glasses, I was kind of like, so if you can have these, I'm going to go now. I don't want to watch Jumanji again.
You know what, she's obsessed with Jumanji. So who would you, all right, here's one for you. So we've done superhero. Who would your video game avatar be?
What, me personally?
Yeah, I'm just going to go with The Rock. I'd pick The Rock as my video game avatar. But as Charlotte said to me the other day when we watched Jumanji for the first time, Daddy, that man's a lot bigger and a lot stronger than you. Cheers, Charlotte. Cheers, Sophie. Appreciate you pointing out that The Rock is a lot stronger than me.
I don't know, it'd probably have to be someone like who looked intellectual.
Okay, Stephen Hawking. You'd have Stephen Hawking as your video game avatar.
Yeah, Steve Jobs or something.
Stephen Hawking's better. I mean, like, you can have rockets coming out of his wheelchair and like.
I don't think I'd be like a fighting character. I'd be a support character.
You know what? I know for a fact. I mean, Stephen Hawking's been in The Simpsons, hasn't he? Mm-hmm. So maybe, you'd be Steve Jobs instead of Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Just like me going, I'm going to ruin you on social media.
What, Twitter war?
Yeah.
Who gets involved in a Twitter war?
I don't know.
Steve Jobs or Stephen Hawking? I don't think neither of them get involved too much.
Steve Jobs was head of Apple, so
yeah,
he had control of a lot of media.
Not Twitter, though.
Not Twitter. I said I'd ruin you on social media, not Twitter.
Oh, right, okay. So what social media did Apple have?
I do not know.
But, well, that, interestingly, though, that brings us to another point, okay? So we are on iTunes, okay? And we've started getting some decent reviews. Ooh. So we've got 3 reviews as I say this, and I'm sure there's a few more coming in. But yeah, if you are subscribing to the Kindness Project via iTunes, please pop on and leave us a review. And it can be, I mean, this week, literally, I've had some verbal reviews. One of them said, I'm loving the podcast, it's awesome. Another said, within the first 2 minutes, it made me laugh. The third one said, episode 6 made me cry. The fourth one said, what a load of nonsensical waffle.
Everyone loves nonsensical.
And actually, they're all pretty much accurate, aren't they? So we make people laugh, we make people cry.
Yeah, but was it crying because they were sad or crying because they were laughing?
Oh, you know what? It was the story, and this was on episode 6 or 7, I think, of the letter from Holly. You know, the girl. So that was she was a girl who had a terminal illness and wrote a letter about the things she valued most in life at the end of her life. So it did.
You should be listening to these in chronological order anyway.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to podcast 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, why don't you go back and have a little listen and see what you think?
Number 14.
Yeah, it is. So can you let people know how they can get in touch with us?
We are at
Hola! Again! Listeners, can we start a hashtag? This hashtag being, get Charlotte to say H. .com. I might even go out and buy the domain name, charlottesaysh.com. And it's just got an avatar of Charlotte going, hola, hola, hola. The Twitter handle, the Twitter handle, listeners, if you need to know, is
Hola.
Yay!
Hola kindness, H-O-L-A kindness. Chris.
Yeah, and I'm on Twitter at Chris CHRIS Dames DAEMS, and you're on Twitter as well.
Charlotte J. Dame, CHARLOTTE. First time I heard her name there. CHARLOTTE.
How to professionally host a podcast? Forget your name. It's always done.
I'm going to start over. CHAR.
What with your name? Just call yourself Steve. That's a bit easier than Charlotte.
No, I like my 9 letters. Thanks. CHARLOTTEJ. Dames DAEMS.
And we're on the email. We're on the email.
Hola.
With an H.
He's looking at me so disappointed. Like, oh, my child.
Hola. All right, mate. Holla.
HOLA at thekindnessproject.co.uk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, that's right. The Kindness Project. I couldn't remember if it was .co.uk or .com. So, we haven't talked about the kindness, the podcast question of the week, have we? Oh, did we? Let's do a quick recap. Yeah, if you were a superhero, it was so long ago, I forgot. But just to recap, listeners, just in case you forgot, the podcast question of the week is, if you were a superhero, what would your name be and what would your superpower be? And with that established, should we move on with the show?
For PPI without a phone call.
PPI?
Don't make the mistake of microwaving these foods. Porridge is one of them.
Why are you reading obvious adverts from the internet?
They're at the bottom of this article on kindness.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. So what can you do with PPI?
You can check.
Ignore any adverts that you want to check. Okay, cool. But instead of news about PPI or news about porridge news, I didn't realise this section, I mean, it might work. Porridge news,
Oh my
I don't
God,
know.
you're so out of tune.
I don't know. But actually, we're not on porridge news or PPI news. We're on...
Don't laugh. Okay.
We're on coffin news.
We're on kindness news.
And what and what news of kindness have you got this week?
Okay, the story of homeless man Glenn James involved many acts of kindness.
Did it involve porridge or PPI?
No.
Oh, right, okay.
So the first was his own. When Glenn, who had been living on the streets of Boston, found a backpack stuffed with $42,000, he decided to turn it over to the police so it could be reunited with its owner, rather than keep what would undoubtedly have been a life-changing loot. But after reading about his honest act, Ethan Whittington set up a fund for Glenn. Donations flooded in from around the world, eventually raising more than $100,000 to change the homeless man's life after all.
Yeah, I love that story. Absolutely love that story. So through an act of goodwill, trust, respect and kindness from the homeless man, he actually
got more money
financially got more than he gave, but not only financially, but he knew that he did the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think of that story?
I think, yeah, he did the right thing, and I think that would have been good on his conscience. And the fact that this person, Ethan Whittington, was like, this homeless man, this could have changed his life.
Yeah.
And set up a charity just for this one man because he did one kind thing. I think it shows that people are willing to consider people's actions.
Are you thinking about PPI and porridge?
No, I'm not thinking about PPI and porridge.
Just checking.
Consider people's actions and what they deserve.
Yeah, and you know what as well? I think I've been really concerned about, and I need to take some action with this, Charlotte. I think we should go out and take some action on this pretty soon, actually. With the weather we've been having recently, I've been really concerned about homelessness, because living on the streets when the weather's not great has got to be the worst thing in the world, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that people do is dehumanise people who have been in that situation, when they easily forget it doesn't take too many sort of bad life experiences or potentially bad decisions to be in that place yourself.
Yeah.
But what that shows is there is good in everybody.
Yeah.
And actually, that homeless person who could have took the cash, who could have took the money, didn't and did the right thing. I absolutely love it. Have you got another story for me?
Yes. At the age of 6, the excitement of Christmas is almost too much to bear.
It is.
Which is why the
Sorry, the age of what?
6.
At the age of 40, the excitement of Christmas is too much to bear.
Okay. Which is why the actions of Surrey Youngster Amelia, I think it says, Anderson is so touching. The schoolgirl stunned her parents by writing to Father Christmas to say that she didn't want any Christmas presents, telling him instead to send them to children who don't have any.
Love
Her
it.
touching letter reduced Mum Shanaz, as I say, to tears.
I absolutely... do you reckon Sophie would do that?
No. No. Full stop. No.
Yeah, so I think one of the greatest things you can do is just be grateful for what you've got. And certainly if you're listening to this podcast, we're the lucky ones, right?
Yep.
We're the lucky ones. So to recognise that at 6, I think is incredible. So thank you for sharing that story. And we've got time for one more.
One more. You're a bit greedy in the kindness news. I'm going to run out before next week.
I'm spoiling you, listeners, with 3 kindness news articles this week.
Okay. Keith Owen made a fortune during his lifetime as an investment banker. He was lucky enough to be able to travel the world, but always returned to Sidmouth in Devon. His fondness for the place meant that when he developed lung cancer, he wrote into his will that 2.3 million should go to the town's civic society to be spent on flowers, so the resort could be kept looking beautiful for years to come. Following his death, the society are now doing exactly that in his memory.
Oh, very nice. So he invested in the place that he loved the most.
Yes.
So I think kindness doesn't need to be about being kind to people. It's about making sure that places are sort of well respected and well turned out. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's right, because obviously if we are kind to the environment environment will be kind to us. Like, don't chop down every tree in a forest, because they're not going to grow back that quickly.
They do grow back, though.
They do grow back, just not that quickly. You also have to plant them.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that's kindness news for this week, and we'll see you next time.
We've been doing this podcast for a while now, Dad, eh?
We have, Charlotte. Did you have that written down? Because that sounded quite scripted.
What's scripted? You told me to say it.
Oh, God. Yeah, well done for making it sound so natural. We've been doing this podcast for a while now, Dad. Yeah, we have, actually. Have you enjoyed it so far?
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly have. And I tell you what, I mean, I'm sort of writing the book about kindness, and that's opened my eyes to how awesome people are in the world.
Yeah.
Since doing the podcast, I've realised a few things.
What are they?
Well, let me introduce it with a real clickbait introduction. These are the 5 things I've learned since starting the Kindness Project podcast.
Is it going to be a picture of a celebrity on it?
No, why? I won't.
That's usually what
Yeah.
clickbait is.
You'd never believe the 5 things I've learned since doing the Kindness Project podcast.
Just a random picture of
Yeah, Matt Damon.
no,
Nicholas Cage. we just have a photo of Nicholas Cage. You'd never believe how bad an actor. The 5 things you'd never believe about Nick Cage and how bad an actor he is. I think we should make that our next. What are the 5 things that make Nick Cage such a bad actor? But yeah, there's certainly stuff that I've sort of think that I've learned since doing the Kindness Project podcast. Number 1, I think I'm a bit more grateful. Why are you laughing?
Stop thinking about Nick Cage.
Oh, right, stop thinking about Nick Cage. We've got important Kindness Project business to talk about.
What was important?
And number 1 is I'm more grateful.
Yep.
It's really interesting when you look at the stories that we talk about on the Kindness Project. A lot of them aren't particularly all positive and happy, because they are stories of people who are having
Trouble.
are finding themselves in a
predicament,
in a pretty tough position. Either it's homelessness, or struggling to cope with difficult situations, or are in a position where
they need a helping hand.
Yeah, exactly. They need a helping hand. And genuinely, sort of, as I've been focusing, reading more of these stories as we do Kindness News, and just thinking a bit more about what I can do to help people, certainly I'm coming across more stories where I read them and I think, I'm just lucky. I'm just so fortunate. And I think one of the things that I try and do is wake up every morning with an attitude of, I didn't mean to make that rhyme, an attitude of gratitude.
You made it, yeah, I didn't mean to make that rhyme. And I was sitting here thinking, what rhyme did he make?
Yeah, an attitude of platitude. An attitude, no, like just being great. I try and be.
Attitude to be a dude.
Oh God! An attitude of super dude. But genuinely, I think one of the things that I've realised is I'm certainly more grateful now, just hearing some of these stories of people facing adversity, but also people helping them out.
Yeah.
Than I was. I think the second thing that I've been thinking about is I'm probably a bit more curious since doing the Kindness Project podcast.
Yeah.
And the reason being, and we've not published many of them yet, funny enough, but we will. We've been doing loads of interviews.
Well, like 4 or 5.
Well, no, we've done more than that now. I've got about sort of 12 to 15 interviews that I've recorded that we're going to be putting out on the podcast over the next coming months.
I think I'm only in one of them.
You are only in one of them because normally when I record them, you're at school.
Yeah.
But we're going to get you involved in a few more. But I love having the ability of phoning somebody up who's got an interesting story and is doing awesome stuff in the world, phoning them up and saying, I'd like to talk to you, or emailing them saying, I'd like to talk to you about what you're doing. And even the one you came, Tessa Weil, we interviewed together, didn't we? That was really interesting, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And she said things that just made me want to ask more questions.
Made you nod at me and go, you should be listening to this.
Well, the reason the Tessa Weil interview that's coming up, listeners, is really interesting because Tessa and I think her husband's called Eric. Eric wrote a book called The Spark and the Grind, where he talked about the importance of being creative, but also the importance of just getting the work done. And I was nodding at Charlotte, who's creative, but also needs to focus on getting the work done in equal measures. So yeah, that would be a good interview. But certainly having the privilege of just getting in touch with people and going, can we have a chat? Can I ask you some questions?
Are we going to have a chin wag?
We'll have a little chin wag. Has certainly meant that because of the Kindness Project, I want to ask people more questions. I want to be more curious. Third one is I'm happier. Mm-hmm. Right, so let me explain why I'm happier. 2 reasons. Number one, and I say this completely genuinely, I love spending time with you.
Yep.
Ditto. Was it ditto? Was that meant to be ditto?
Yeah, and then my tongue
ditto.
I end up biting my own tongue.
So Charlotte's just invented a new word. That word is ditto. If you'd like to define that word, just tell us what you think ditto means.
Oh, I bit my tongue.
But yeah, let us know. But certainly, did you mean ditto?
Yeah, and I bit my tongue on the way to say it.
Ditto. So one of the reasons that it's made me happier is because we get to just have such a laugh doing the podcast, don't we? I mean, I love it. Do you?
Yeah.
And even to the point where you go, can we talk more nonsense now, Dad? makes me happy because
I love doing intros, and because I always have like a backlog of introductions.
Yeah.
So he's got none left for me, and I've still got 4 waiting.
Yeah, you've got a few in the locker, so to speak, haven't you?
But actually on my Google Docs.
But actually, one of the things that's interesting is, you know, when we do our like Sunday walks over, we live near a county park, listeners, and when we do our Sunday walks and talk nonsense for about half an hour, effectively all we're doing there is recording it, right? So the fact that we get to do that is making me happy.
Except now I'm not complaining.
No, well, yeah, normally when we go out for a walk, you complain for the first 10 minutes and then you go, actually, I'm having quite good fun. But yeah, so I'm happy that I get to spend time with you. But I think talking and trying to be more kind, as David Hamilton says in his book, and if you David Hamilton gets a mention again, we are massive David Hamiltons. Well, I am, aren't I? I'm a massive David Hamilton fan.
I've read 1 page of the book. Thanks, mate. That was a great help.
As David Hamilton talks about in his book, kindness does make you happy because of the chemicals it releases, make you just a happier, more loving person. So, I get to spend time with you, but also thinking and doing more kind stuff and talking about kind stuff has also made me happy. Can I just highlight one other thing? Not focus, and you know what, I still do it too much, but not focusing on as much bad news and talking about good news has made me happier as well. That's a work in progress though, because I am still super obsessed with the ignoramus that is Donald Trump, and I know I need to probably.
We live in Britain and he still watches CNN news. Yeah,
CNN and MSNBC, because I'm still a bit obsessed about Trump. However, focusing on good news stories has made me a bit happier.
Michelle Obama for president.
Michelle Obama for president, did you say? Yeah. I think Michelle Obama would make a good president. Yeah. I actually don't care who's president as long as it's not Donald Trump or Nicolas Cage.
Even The Rock would do.
Well, we talked about that before, didn't we? The Rock for president.
Yeah.
So
Michelle Obama would be the best, though.
Michelle Obama would be all right. Maybe that'll happen. But I think she said that she's not going to get involved in politics. The next one, number 4, is I think I'm a little more considerate. I think I've still got a lot to focus on in terms of being more considerate, but I do think I'm trying a bit harder, and I tend to just be more polite, open more doors, think about other people a little bit more.
Yep.
But actually, I think I'm sort of a bit of a work in progress on that one.
We're all works in progress.
Yeah, we are, aren't we? Yeah, we've all got more effort to make. And number 5, I smile and laugh a lot more. Now, some people might say, that's not possible, Chris, because you smiled and laughed a lot before you started the Kindness Project. But genuinely...
Now he does it in his spare time.
And genuinely, I am finding myself, because of a combination of the things that I've already mentioned, I'm grateful, I'm more grateful, I'm happier, I'm more curious, I'm being more considerate, and I'm trying to do more kind stuff. I am finding myself a lot more cheerful, and obviously spending time with you is great as well.
Thanks, old man.
No worries. So what have you learnt while doing the Kindness Project?
A lot of similar things, but like...
Don't bogart my list.
I haven't got a list.
Don't pinch the stuff on my list.
Yeah, I think...
Pinch your own stuff.
How can I pinch my own stuff? It's mine.
Okay, what's on your non-list?
My non-list. I think I do appreciate things more. Like, what do I appreciate more now? A lot of stuff.
Do you appreciate stealing from other people's lists?
My friends, I appreciate more because obviously, they could just ignore me. Thinking about it, they could ignore me. Like, you know how some people, they just kind of, they see someone in trouble and they just go, their problem.
Yeah.
My friends, the people
never
who care
that.
about me, they could do that. They could easily just walk away. And you know what? They don't.
Yeah.
They come, they help me. And
How do they help you?
Depends what the problem is, really.
Okay.
If I'm bored, they'll come and cheer me up.
Okay.
They're good at that. If I'm upset, they'll come and cheer me up. They're good at that. I said that. But yeah,
so basically they're good at cheering you up.
Yeah.
So you're more appreciative of your friends.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That sounds really good. So that sounds like a really good reason to carry on doing what we're doing.
So it's that time again.
What time?
The end. The end of it all.
That was a bit extreme. The end of it all. But the end is not really the end, is it? The end is only the beginning of the end.
Damn, that's philosophical.
Because we always do.
Unless it's actually the end.
We always do a couple of things. We do...
Let me do it.
Go on then. The cough.
Last week's question of the podcast. This week, last week. You get the point.
Yeah. Well, effectively, we're going to be talking about the answers we've got for last week's question for new listeners, as long as you don't, if you don't know the format. So what we do is I've just stolen Charlotte's eraser.
A razor? Who does that? It was a rubber.
What we do? You've bought ballpoint pens and a rubber. Where's all your pencils to use your eraser? You got a tiny pencil.
I know, I've been sharpening it for about a year.
All right, okay. So the question, what we do, listeners, is we ask our listeners and on social media a question every podcast. And the last, what we do is we ask it one week, and then the following week we read out the answers. And you can answer any of the previous week's questions, because we've now got a decent amount.
You may not get a shout out, but you may make our day. Well,
you probably will get a shout out, because I will mention previous answers to questions. And the questions we've had are: what's the best use of an egg? Are most people generally good? What country is at the top of your must-visit list? What's the most inspiring movie ever? What's your favourite piece of trivia? Which is one of my personal favourites. If you could remove one word from the English language, what would it be? And a bunch of others. Now, the question for the podcast last week was, what's your favourite member of the royal family? And we had a few answers. First, we had an answer from Mark Smith, who went, "Oh, you're going all tabloid now? Like, who's next? Who's your favourite Spice Girl?" And I reserve the right to answer that question in the future. Just out of interest, who is your favourite Spice Girl, Charlotte? Don't know Spice?
Yeah.
Do you know who the Spice Girls are?
I've heard a couple of times, just I don't know them individually.
Okay, okay. Well, we might have who's your favourite Spice Girl in the future.
And I will be just as tongue-tied.
And apologies to Mark, because I know he thinks we're going a little bit tabloid with who's your favourite member of the royal family. I'll go highbrow next week with a question about eggs or biscuits or something really sophisticated. I don't know.
Trousers. We'll ask about trousers next week.
What's your favourite trousers? Jeans or cords?
Or do you prefer shorts? Are you that kind of person?
So Mark did have an answer for us though. He said Princess Anne. She seems relatively normal, and although it's a low bar, so obviously not a royalist, given the dysfunctional nature of her siblings, but she also likes rugby, and she told Emily Hughes to naff off. Now, I think he meant Emily Hughes, and I think he corrected me after. Matt Wall, keeping it real and keeping it simple again. Matt Wall, regular contributor to the show.
We have a lot of regular contributors now, don't we?
We do. We've got a few who like to get involved every single time. Just Harry. He likes Harry. Why? Because he's ginger. Easy. And Tasman Kane said Harry as well. And not because he's ginger, but because he comes across as kind but not infallible. I think Harry is my favourite royal.
You said that last time.
I know. I said it last week, didn't I? And for those reasons, he seems like a really decent person, but also is not perfect, and I don't think any of us are. And Robbie White, regular contributor to the show, sent us a link this week that I want to share on Listener Stories of Kindness to the Soup Peddler. Now, the Soup Peddler is an awesome guy. He goes out onto the streets of Oxford and makes soup for people who can't afford it. So I'm actually going to do a story of kindness about the Soup Peddler in a future podcast, and hopefully get him on to talk to us. But yeah, great work, the Soup Peddler, who just goes out onto the streets of Oxford, and you can find him on Twitter as well. And some of his images of his soup, I'd like some actually. They look really good.
I'm not a big soup fan.
Are you not? Well, that's a shame, because for a future question of the podcast, I was going to go, what's your favourite soup?
Tomato.
Well, you said you weren't a big soup fan.
No, I'm not a big soup fan. I wouldn't pick it over solid food, but like...
There are you know what you need to go for? You need to get this in your life. Big and chunky soup.
Oh.
Heinz Big and Chunky. It's like it's a soup, but it's got something to it.
It's literally pieces of meat drowning in sludge. No thanks.
Well, you have gravy and I don't, and that's one of the reasons why I don't have gravy, because why would you want food swimming in some sort of weird, bizarre outfit?
It's just glazed.
Soup, it's not the way Mummy makes it. That's it for me. Have you got anything else to finish on?
No.
No, we're done.
Yep, but
Okay, cool. We'll see you next week.
Bye.